Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching India Tonight with me, Sumita, Kareer, and some distressing news coming in from the United States. Well, it was a somber start to the new year in the country. 3 back-to-back attacks reported to have terror links. They took place in 3 different locations. First one in New Orleans, wherein a 42-year-old man reportedly drove his pickup truck into thick crowd, killing at least 15. The second attack in Las Vegas, wherein a Tesla Cybertruck exploded right outside Donald Trump's hotel, killing the driver. And the third attack in New York, wherein 4 men opened fire outside a nightclub, thankfully killing none but injured at least 10 people. Now, reports and authorities are probing a terror link in at least the first 2 attacks. Remember, these attacks are crucial and, of course, are making everybody sit up and take notice, because these are coming in just before President-elect Donald Trump's swearing in. He's ready to take over for his new term in the White House. And he then does have his task clearly cut out for him already, which is to deal with terror. But, of course, to understand the implications and the symbolism of these attacks and the timing that these attacks are happening, I'm now joined by our special guest tonight, YC Modi, former NIA DG, and, of course, Manoj Joshi, distinguished fellow at ORF. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening on India Tonight. Let me come to you, Mr. Modi, first. These 3 attacks coming in as they do just before Donald Trump swearing in, what do these attacks really look like to you? Intentional and well coordinated?
From the details which we have, which are very sketchy, we can't say whether these 2 incidents are connected. But there's no doubt in the first incident where 15 people lost their lives is a very, very serious matter. I feel that we have to go little in the background of the situation around the world. If you see, this jihadi radicalism has grown, at least in the last 2-3 years, quite a lot. After 9/11, for some time, there was some control over radicalization as well as the jihadi terrorism. But in the last 2-3 years, if you see the events like Afghanistan, Taliban has taken over. In our own neighborhood in Bangladesh, also hardcore jihadi elements have got the power, though, I mean, on paper, there's efforts are being made to bring back the democracy. But we know that their attitude. Similarly, in Syria, so maybe till recently, these people were not feeling that radical elements were thinking that it is very difficult to control some territory. But now, with the recent events, they may be motivated that they can control certain areas of the world.
Yes, Mr. Modi. All right. So, Mr. Modi, the point that you're essentially trying to make is that these attacks that have been happening, whether it is in Bangladesh or the United States and, of course, several other countries in the world, are related to radical elements. But let me take that point across to you, Mr. Joshi. What do you make of the statement that Mr. Modi is making? Do these events seem like mere coincidences, or are these part of a larger coordinated effort? Because remember, the timing of these attacks is rather suspect. You have one administration going out and another one coming in.
I think the timing of the 2 attacks, meaning the attack in Las Vegas and the attack in New Orleans, that is coincidental. And then the attack in Las Vegas, which is using a Elon Musk, made Cybertruck, and in front of Trump's hotel, that could be a coincidence, but I don't think so. I think there is something deliberate there. And likewise, the attack but what is different in the attack in New Orleans is that the person who has launched the attack is displaying the Islamic State flag. He is also a Native American. He's a Black American who's converted to Islam. And he has been having a lot of problems, personal problems. And I think he has been radicalized through the internet, because this is the big problem that we are facing. Meaning, it's one thing to be in the area where the IS operates. It's another thing to be in the internet where IS agents are trying to recruit people, recruit agents all around the world. And I think this man, Jabbar, probably fell victim to that kind of an operation where he desperately had personal issues, and that those personal issues got converted into a terror plot.
Okay, so essentially you're also agreeing with what Mr. Modi is saying, Mr. Joshi, that of course radical elements are at play here, and of course the FBI and the police is investigating these three incidents separately and establishing whether there is any connection. But let me come to you, Mr. Modi, on the issue of Shamsuddin Jabbar, that who's reportedly is the man responsible for at least one of these attacks. What do you think was the motivation? And do these attacks that have happened, do these suggest that there was perhaps a ploy, a plot to carry out a larger attack?
No, as Mr. Joshi has told, there's no doubt about it that this person was highly radicalized. You see, he's an ex-army person. And he had no criminal record till that time. And a person who has worked in army and is supposed to have nationalist feelings, and then getting converted into Islam and becoming a person of this type. This is all because this material for radicalization is so easily available. I can tell you from my own experience. In NIA, we studied around 85 of ISIS recruits. I mean, the persons who got motivated towards ISIS ideology. And these persons in their interrogations and in their interviews, they told us that they had so many questions about the religion and there was nobody to guide them. And these people turned towards internet, and on internet there is so much of radical material is available. And these ISIS and jihadi recruiters, they brainwash these people, and especially like the person like Jabbar, who was having some personal problems as well. And then this type of persons seek refuge in the religion, and they get misguided very easily, and they can go up to any extent to achieve their so-called aims, which they have learned on the internet.
Right. Right, Mr. Modi. So essentially, you're once again hinting at radical elements at play, which did carry out these attacks. And of course, your experience has given you that information, that analysis. But let me come to you, Mr. Joshi. Now, like I earlier said, that these attacks are coming in just before Donald Trump assumes office. So how big of a security challenge do you think these attacks will pose to the incoming Trump administration 2.0? And how do you think Trump 2.0 is going to look at these incidents, because there is a lot of volatility around the world with respect to, whether it's acts of terror, whether it's related to civil war or attacks on minorities?
I think it's definitely very serious. After all, there have been 2 attempts on Trump's life as a candidate. And so you can be sure that given these kind of developments, the security agencies will be working overtime to ensure that the Trump inaugural goes through peacefully. I have no doubt in my mind that they are looking at all, even now, with regard to the New Orleans attacker. The FBI is saying that there may have been an accomplice. Now, if there is an accomplice, there could be a wider conspiracy. And again, as I told you, the Las Vegas attack is targeting a Trump property, so there are things happening. I don't think they have been able to connect all the dots as yet, because it just happened yesterday. So they're trying to connect the dots and trying to see if there could be wider ramifications of the threat. Because after 9/11, the US doesn't want to take any chances with regard to this. And particularly, as I said, that there had been 2 attempts on Trump's life. And so when he goes into this, and the threat, is today is multifaceted. The person in Germany, the Saudi doctor who used again a vehicle to crush people, he was a right-wing person. He was an anti-Islam person. So it's not, their extreme ideologies are there, extremists are there. They are facing, many of them are having mental issues, and they are creating situations which the security forces, security authorities have to deal with. And in the Trump administration coming in, they need to work overtime to ensure everything goes through peacefully.
Absolutely, Mr. Joshi, and very important point that you made about polarization actually leading to, some of these attacks and, the references that you were giving. One final question, Mr. Modi, before we wrap up this discussion. In fact, a senior advisor to the president of RAND Corporation has stated that this is the most dangerous period in the United States in terms of, election violence in the 76 days between election day on November 5th and, of course, the inauguration day, which is on Jan 20th. I want to finally ask you about what sort of messaging are these attacks giving out in light of what is really happening? Of course, Mr. Joshi was mentioning about, polarization, but what essentially is the messaging being given out by these 3 attacks that have happened?
This is very clear. They want to make it, they want to emphasize that they are not finished. They can strike at will, and security agencies will have to be very, very cautious to maintain law and order. But there are 2 things in these attacks. One is these happened on New Year. New Year, you must be knowing that jihadi elements don't believe on 1st January as New Year and being celebrated. So they don't want New Year to be celebrated. Secondly, Mr. Trump is believed to have very strong views about immigrants. So it may be a messaging to him as well that we can strike outside the property belonging to you, as well as on the New Year, which is being celebrated in the Western countries all over the world. So maybe these are the 2 messages they want to give.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for taking the time out and speaking with us. YC Modi and Manoj Joshi, thank you very much once again. And of course, in terms of messaging, gentlemen, you're stating that, of course, this is a messaging being given out to Donald Trump as he assumes office in January for the second time now. And of course, this poses definitely a big challenge in terms of tackling a radical terror in a Trump 2.0 presidencies. Of course, we have various geopolitical, crises unfolding, lots of polarization also happening. So this is going to be a challenge of a different scale altogether, and definitely one story that we'll be closely tracking.